You shouldn't go.
Attention all, this is the estate. Helen, if you've already taken your tablet, please report to the dining hall. We prepared a new task for you. The leather is on the table and will have further directions. Remember, good girls take their medicine, good girls do their chores, good girls go home. That is all, ladies.
Help him next.
They picked you, Helen. I can't wait to go home myself. A letter addressed to Martin M. Tatum. The sounds you were hearing, the one at night in your dreams, that one that's been ringing your head since days in the trenches, never went away, did it? Mine either. Martin. Starting to make sense. There's been this heat. I felt it all the way in Scottsdale. It's been burning in me for months, filling my head with the dreams, beautiful dreams. They've been telling me where to go. Sure, I was worried I was crazy, but I've met others along the way. We've all seen it. All felt it. It's not some made-up illness they've given to us. It's something real. This beautiful machine. It opens doors. I've seen it in my dreams, and I think I need to find it. I think it's where we're headed. This is something so much larger than I thought, Martin. More than I could ever dream. If your dreams have been speaking to you as well, then you owe it to yourself. Come to the address marked on this envelope. It's some manner that I've seen the eyes open above. Come with us. It's going to be so beautiful. Sincerely, Lieutenant Grayson Dobbs. Though your time here has been short, it is still important that you can be determined as reliable. We'd like you to begin tending the front garden of the estate. Twice a day you will need to feed and water the flower bed, as well as maintain the hedges. We are willing to trust this task with you, as you've been very regular in taking your medicine, while some other girls are somewhat unreliable. You can't expect your parents to want you back if you're unreliable, can you? To dissuade the others from running about on the side, we have hidden the key beneath the downstairs piano. Please return it when you're done each day, and be sure to let none of the other girls see you. You're a good girl, Helen. November 11th, 1918. Edward at last returned home from the Great War. I give thanks to the Lord for his safe return from Germany. To think that just days before he was ripped from me to be a doctor in the war, we were married. He's returning to his job at Queen Mary's Hospital in London. What a dreadful drive it is back and forth day in and day out. And with the epidemic that's been plaguing the countryside, well, I worry for his health. God willing, he'll be all right as he helps those poor souls. February 27th, 1919. My husband hasn't been the same since he went back to work. For weeks he's been spending more time in the basement than the rest of the house. He doesn't even come to bed most nights. I sometimes find him asleep down there in his lab, asleep on his desk, and during the day, no less. I asked him if he himself should visit hospital for a checkup, but he brushed it off, saying how he's a doctor and how he knows better than me. I can't help but fret, though. He barely touches the meals Maria makes him. He used to love her cooking so very much. I fear she and the rest of the hired help are worried as well. March 4th, 1919. If the world is to know anything of me from this journal, let it be that I have always been an understanding wife. The love I felt for Edward in all our years together has never waned, not in the loneliness and uncertainty of the war, and not in this new growing void between us, this void of obsession. As many fears as I've had, I've always put the rational aside when I heard him assure us that these experiments were necessary, and that they were going to repair what fate his colleagues once had in his ideas. Perhaps even save the lives of so many more that still suffer the horrible affliction. Spectacular thought as that may be, his words were all I had during the war, and all I have now. The faith his promises have provided me, however, is becoming too worn to be of any new comfort. Though it was far against his will, I've been privy to the growing scope of his work for a while now. What started off as the same treatments and experiments that I've followed him through for years has become something else entirely. Large, horrible structures have been his focus for some time now. They look as mechanical as any transport I've seen, but their shapes are much more ornate. The iron that holds their frames has been carved so deliberately with hellish shapes, though they resemble something I'm beyond being able to describe exactly what. To call these metal shells sinister would be admitting I even understand what they are and what they're supposed to accomplish. It's far from any medicine that I've known him to practice, but he continues with his cold, affirming response. His distance only seems to widen from his work and from the sciences that he swears by. But I can only sit as idle as I can, swaying some hope that his plans are going as he says. It is hard to ignore the things I'm hearing in the night, the murmurs of the help as they come to me for some kind of assurance, expecting that I know my husband's actions half as well as a good wife should. I have nothing for them but the promises that he gives me. He's a doctor. He knows what he's doing. Nothing I say to them can be said in confidence anymore. I may be an understanding wife, but there are limits to even mine.
What do you remember about your parents? Helen didn't make it far. Don't believe what they're telling you.
Attention all, this is the estate. Betty, if you've already taken your tablet, please report to the dining hall. We prepared a new task for you. The letter on the table will have further directions. Remember, good girls take their medicine, good girls do their chores, good girls go home. That is all, ladies.
Did you hear those sounds last night? It was pretty weird.
Betty, early this morning a package arrived for you from an unconfirmed courier. The man expected responsibility for such delivery, but their courtesy will inform you to retreat. Please do this immediately as something happened to your children. That would be a terrible shame, especially for a young mother.
June 24th, 1919. There are a great many things that I've been able to overlook in my role as a lady of the house. The awful sounds, the confusing orders my husband has given to help, the smells, oh, the unholy smells. None of this is terribly unfamiliar to his work. Those extremes to which he is willing to push my familiarity with medicine as the reasoning is starting to make me the key himself is losing touch with reality. What I haven't been able to ignore is many nights I've laid awake in my empty bed, simply watching the window as this terrible heat overtakes my body. Not a heat that can be felt in the air, something more intense, almost like a fever, but not quite. It doesn't radiate from me, merely finds its nest in my body, burning my hours on end. Nothing I do seems to fight off the sensation, no medication I find from endless records, no salve or application I can find. I've taken to simply shedding the sleep wear and staring out into the night, hoping it passes. As much as I want to believe this is merely my mind deceiving my body, the determinate nature of this illness coincides far too closely with the continuation of Edward's perverse sciences. They even are to be considered sciences anymore. The longer I permit him to continue his work, the further away his is drawn into it. I have no proper recourse. This is our life, and I'm as responsible as he is at this point. And I've come to understand that whatever he's come to study, whatever this illness is, it certainly isn't what he'd want to cure. It's taken its toll on his body as well as mine, and I feel our housekeepers are starting to feel the similar dread, be it this illness or something more akin to dread. Beyond that, the night sky has had such a terrible glow as of late. Where I am more superstitious woman, I may perceive this as some kind of omen of ill fate, but I am as married to the rational world as I was when I met Edward. Still, the greater part of me wishes he were here during these horrid nights. He used to be able to comfort me. He would be able to see this terrible glow. Took it away, something beautiful. Maybe that beauty is gone. Maybe my husband is gone.
We have we not? We have long now to eat. Now we're not here. There is only the one feeling we have our shared, and now we must wait. Wait for the yard. It may be unforgiving, that we must wait. Lucy to us. We are ready to doors open. The eye that comes us on the porch. Lead us and pass doors always. The end in the world. From the vines of the rabbit. To bring our saviors. We must wait. The reality we know it is the sweet.
Attention all. This is the estate. Dorothy, if you've already taken your tablet, please report to the dining hall. We've prepared a new task for you. The letter on the table will have further directions. Remember, good girls take their medicine, good girls do their chores, good girls go home. That is all, ladies.
We're the last two, I guess.
Dorothy, you've begun entering the late year, and as such, our daylight hours are getting short. It will be entrusting you to light all the manners candles before nightfall, as well as snuffing them out in the morning. This is a large responsibility, but we trust that you are more than capable of it. We must all do our part here. You're such a responsible young lady, Dorothy. Surely your family will be glad to have you home.
October 1st, 1919. A crowd of strange men and women have been congregated outside the mansion for days. There must be at least 20 or more of them. They all have almost glassy eyes and the palest skin. They don't seem to eat nor drink, nor do they react to the bitter winds outside. They stand about shuffling here or there. Sometimes they sit, sometimes they sleep, but mostly they just stand, trying to look outside the windows and knock on the door. Bartholomew and William have already quit because of it. I can't pretend to blame them. I've asked them what they want, and they just tell me that they want to see Edward. Why do these people want to see my husband? He won't even see me, let alone strangers. I've only seen him once since August. He was moving boxes through the back door of the manor. He yelled at me to get away, and I did as he said. I'm afraid. I've nowhere to go. October 2nd, 1919. My God, I heard gunshots. Not from outside, from the basement. 6 shots and agitated yelling from my husband. I and the servants, brave enough to venture out of their rooms, rushed to the basement door and called for him. There was a terrible banging at the door, then 4 more shots. I heard something fall down the stairs before my husband screamed at us to get away. He almost sounded scared, or worse, relieved. I can't keep pretending that there's something I can salvage from this. Whatever he's doing is only growing in scale, and that horrible hum from his damn machine is merely the cause to this tragedy that I now call our life. God, that's what. Please. November 8th, 1919. Maybe what I knew of my husband and his work was always a lie. I want to believe that something changed in him. Perhaps during the war. Perhaps in his need to find an end to this plague. As we understood it, we used to speak of all kinds of things for our future, and maybe it was simple, perhaps even idealized. But there was a dream that we could both see so clearly. I can't seem to see that dream anymore. That world is buried beneath nothing but the agony I felt when I last saw his cold, dead eyes. Eyes not far removed from the gangs of shambling lunatics that gather at our doors at all hours. Perhaps there's a new illness that I, nor any of our help has heard of. It's not as if I've had the opportunity to leave this prison in so long. The whole world could be entrenched in another great war for as far as I could know. Prison. That's how far from those dreams of a future I've gone. The home that we were to grow together has become nothing more than a prison that I live a waking nightmare in. Perhaps that waking nightmare is preferable to the ones I see at night. On the rare occasions the heat doesn't return, shaking my every fiber awake. There's no doubt in my mind that he can no longer see the future we once spoke so wistfully of. I doubt he can see much of anything anymore. Nothing beyond that hellish engine he's brought into our home. At first, I had been able to ignore the abominable sins that my husband has brought into our home, for which each night there are new, terrible sounds. Some mechanical, some horribly human, all completely unnatural. I am no doctor, nor shall I ever hope to become one, but the godless acts Edwin has begun participating in the droves of mumbling madmen that now gather at our yard in some kind of perverse congregation tell me there's no longer a hope in my heart that my husband is any more of a man of science. If there was such a hope, it died with whatever abominations he has taken to shooting in the dead of the night. I no longer know if I fear my husband, but I am certain that I fear whatever the thing that has replaced him is. Edward has allowed himself to be taken to hell, and I will doubtlessly be forced to follow.
And the Lord saith unto me, Go out into the mountains and preach my word, for the kingdom of heaven is but a lie, indeed is a lie, the God of our forefathers is dead, and in his place we will awaken our Lord, our better Lord, from below we will arise, and save this moldering world of man. My brothers and sisters of salvation, fly, Dr. Edward Sullivan, promise of the new word, for lies do we unto him.
I'll put this one with the others. The lockpick is under my pillow. I left the rifle like we talked about. You have to kill it tonight. The door to the laboratory is under the porch.
July 24th, 1922. My suspicions were not only confirmed, but completely validated by my final discovery last night. The zealots were less than happy to come to realize my line of questioning hadn't ceased, even after several more months of my experiments. The hierarchs took to keeping me as content with research material as possible, hopefully to keep me stimulated. Perhaps too much so to ask my questions while the radiant heat from the engine slowly cooked away my mind and warped my body. It's quite unfortunate for them that these walls are my walls, and that I know where to get anywhere I need to in this manner. This is what led me to finally listening in on one of their perverse sermons. The things these madmen ramble about would give that man pause, but hardly make him listen far beyond that. I've been far too close to these happenings for far too long to not listen, though. Listen and understand. They spoke of their great God in the machine, as it had with me, showing them prophetic visions of the future. They speak of the day the machine has finally fed the blood of the last innocent. They speak of the blood-red sky opening to their lords, the convergence of the two worlds, the legions of our fallen that will return to herald in the reconnection of the true world of our own, and that the slaughter will fill every city of men, and that their own bodies will begin ascending in their holy vessels. Everything I've been seeing has been given a new context, and I realize that I have been betrayed. Every single thing the entity had told me had been a means to complete the bridge, Cain's terrible staircase to his gods, where I, weak man, perhaps my mind would have been so gone as to this news meaning nothing to me. But the truth is before my eyes. I will bring the devil to this world if I allow the machine to continue running. The more blood I spill, the closer I get to ending it for all of us. The maniacs seem to have yet to notice how suspicious I've become, which will work to my advantage. It will take no time to disable the devices that power this hellish engine, and hopefully even less time to destroy it. My body may be changing the same as all the others, but my strength is far from gone. If I can truly dismantle the device, then I may have some chance at salvation. This will take some time, but if I am left to my devices as I have been, then I will have the time to tie up the loose ends that may be left in this research and plan for safe passage of my darling Juliet. Oh, God, Juliet, my wife, how I betrayed her. If she even still resides in this hellhole I have created for us, then I must tell her the truth. Seek some kind of forgiveness, though my acts may have been as evil as any lunatic's. Let it never be said that I stopped loving my Juliet. I will save her from this future. I will end this all myself. I just need enough time to put this in motion. Please wait for me, my love. Let me be the man you know I am. To the care of Dr. K.H. Hauser. October 1st, 1919. Months of trials, months of failures, months of that infernal voice pushing itself deeper and deeper into my brain. With each failed test, the being seems to grow more and more impatient, not being able to figure out how to communicate its help to me, wanting a chance to get its hands on something uniquely corporeal. The long-dried and mangled corpses of my ancestors produced very little in the way of true results. The bodies attempting to move, moaning, cracking. At first I thought the enfeebled material was the reason why the being could not occupy them for very long, but as we moved further into the more presently dead, the results did not seem any more promising. It can't seem to focus on any one corpse long enough to keep a sustained connection, much less apply anything to resemble communication skills. And before too long, it's as if the body simply loses in connection, trying to scream in agony before its flesh, or lack thereof, folds down into another broken pile. In my desperation, I even turned to Cousin Garrett. Everything about that boy looked withered by all the time in its dark decay. There was a moment that I couldn't even see the surgical scars that I'd left him with. It was almost cathartic in a way. That catharsis was truly ruined, however, when I brought him within range of the machine. Like all the others, it took mere moments before he started moving. Unlike the others, he refused to stop moving. Garrett's convulsions slowed after mere moments before he began to rise, sitting up for a brief moment, It's almost as if I'd had my cousin back. The illusion was quickly shattered when the shrieking began, not uncommon for any of these attempts, but something about it was so much closer to a human, yet so much further away. Then, to all of my surprise, the creature that was Garrett began shambling upward, moving towards the stairs. I was excited as I was terrified. There was something here that I had not expected, something much more. In my disbelief, I'd ignored his movement ever closer to the exit of the basement. Soon he was pulling at the door, attempting to find his way to the world above. I didn't know what to do. As he began to amass against the heavy wooden barrier, there was almost no time before howls began again, and it was a matter of time before the rest of the manor would be alerted to the beast. I did my best, in my panic, to turn them away, but I had no means of removing the creature. Its strength, somehow greater than anything the withering body should have been able to produce. In my desperation, I took the only things I could think of that may be able to stop him. My old service pistol. It took more shots than any man ever could to finally put it down. No more twisting into a discarded flesh. No more crumbling into the same old set of dried skin and bone. This corpse returning to being a corpse. I had let Garrett down to his rest, yet again. This will all be worth it. In the end, it has to be. December 1st, 1920. My research has started to stagnate. The resources are drying out, as is my patience for all these repeated failures on the same decrepit meat that I've been forced to abide with. The voices have gotten clearer than ever, trying to guide me in a particular direction that I've been managing to fight off for so long. Why are the sins I've filled my life with the last few years not enough for this being? Why does it think that the corpses and parts that I've been forced to work with, manipulate, aren't good enough? The failures to keep a host alive long enough is more than obvious now, and I feel I have no other option but to give in to its alluring promise to finally end this expansion. I will need a living host to continue this work. Perhaps at one point this may have shocked me to the point that I would leave this maid search behind. Perhaps it knew that and kept this knowledge from me just long enough to hope my drive would get me past such a moral hard block. Perhaps me knowing this has given me a sort of split that I can escape to in my reasoning, but every time I'm forced to look at that painting of that bastard Cain, sitting in his lab, staring down at me as if he'd always knew I'd never succeed his work, I feel just that little bit of pride push me past the barrier that would hold my dream to the realms of morality. Thankfully, the being has provided something more than adequate to satiate this hunger. For the better part of the last year, I've heard from the staff, and what little I do hear of them, the strange groups of men have been congregating and asking to see me. My work has been far too important to spare them this time, but thanks to this recent break in my research, having been held up for some time, I was able to speak with the ringleader of this growing army of confused zealots, and in this, have learned of their reasons for being here. They know of the being, and they need my help to contact him. They treat me as if I'm some kind of foretold prophet, which is a position, however laughable, that gives me a level of control over this bizarre situation. When I suggested what I may need to the head zealot, he almost seemed pleased to offer me exactly what I was asking for, a short, steady supply of living subjects to continue to use as catalyst for the research. Perhaps this will do as little good as it always has, but I believe that all of my questions will soon have answers. We've been using the hidden entrances to accommodate as many of these subjects as possible for any number of tests. The young, the old, the strong, the infirm. All the subjects only have one thing in common. That is, they were more than willing to do whatever it may take to see this being in our world. I can't be certain how much of a being's words I can actually take to heart, but I know this may be all I have left for my research. Perhaps the answer I finally seek is within grasp.
A portrait of a man. Is it a doctor? The bust of a man. He must be obsessed with himself.
November 23rd, 1918. I've been told that the war has affected many men in interesting and terrifying ways. Perhaps I'm less exceptional than I may have assumed. Sleep comes in small, unaccomplished sections, leaving me all the more strained in my daily life, though I fear that my exhaustion is far from the main reason for my disconnection and lack of focus. My practice suffers. My research has all but flattened to nothing, and I may truly have nothing to show for it. For all those fears I've had that my life would end in the trenches, I feared all the more that Juliet and I would never be able to find the solace we once had together. Through all the frozen nights and terrifying days, filled with the blood and viscera of my countrymen, it was really the only thing that gave me any hope that this would all amount to something. And what of that motivation, completely squandered, proven to be as fleeting as my own fidelity? I returned from the horrors I witnessed only to feel nothing in the home I left, and comfort in the arms of but a girl, and my manners empty. I can't even begin to hold this weakness against Maria, and much less Juliet, but ever since I have returned, there's been something in me, something that wasn't there before. That newfound mental peculiarity may very well be responsible. As my sanity first started to prove unreliable, as I began to recognize the faces of the men that were held together under my knife and the will of God during those horrible days, some men I'd met on long voyages to the fronts, some I knew more personally. Once I'd spent well past 4 hours working on the shredded chest of a young man caught in the blast range of artillery. The operations had felt so mundane that it wasn't until I was sure we'd lost the young man that I recognized him to be my cousin, Garrett. I don't think I had a single tear left for him when they shipped him back here, to the family burial grounds beneath my very feet. Or could I not shed a tear in the realization that I lost a childhood playmate, a family member, a true friend? Maybe that all knew. That was all I needed before I felt the weight of the war pressing down on me. And the dreams began. There was no subtlety on the onset of these visions. They came as hard and heavy as one could expect as a fever. But they seemed so much different, much more visceral. All I could hear were voices that guided me towards something that would need to be done to save us all. A grand solution that would save the lives of every creature. These sprawling growths of belief started to seep into my waking moments, and they drawn back to me, to my home. I want to lose this, but I feel the voices are only stronger here. They've driven my madness to places I could not stand to see myself go. They've drawn me to take the body of a young woman, to betray the only future I wanted, but the only woman I wanted it with. God, help me, Juliet. Please forgive me one day. I need to find something to satisfy these voices. I need to return to my studies and save whoever it is that must be saved. I need to sleep. January 13th, 1919. This long, and I can still barely look my beloved in her face. I draw away from her every time I need her most, as I know I do not deserve her. Maria continues to concern herself with me at every turn, and as much as I do care for the girl, I fear she must not understand my true feelings of our deed. So I hide now in the laboratory I've made out of an old cellar. For all the sniveling and self-loathing I've done in my self-appointed isolation, I've begun to work especially hard on this newly spreading disease from the southern of Spain. It's created a key focus on my work. Throughout the days, maybe even given my dreams something to focus on. Perhaps this is the cure and salvation my weary mind needs. Maybe this is how I'll save us all. My research has been progressing as slow as one could imagine it would be for such a new field to study. But perhaps this is where my old dreams may be trying to aid me once more. It seems strange, perhaps, to give any credence to my own delusions, even if I simply try to excuse these actions as feeding a growing hole that my exhaustion has been creating. I do think my dreams may actually know something I do not. Upon researching some further notes left by my grandfather, I found what appeared to be a type of blueprint that has come remarkably close to the very structures I've seen in my waking delusions. The rational part of me wants nothing more than to place my knowledge of this device, some distant memory of having seen the same blueprints in my medical studies for university. But the honest part of me knows better. My visions are becoming too prophetic for me to believe them the simple soft-headedness of my war-shaken mind. There must be a reason why they become so much clearer since my return to the manor. I must continue delving into the catacombs below, where the old notes were held. Every indication is telling me the remnants of the machine are somewhere in the grounds, and grandfather's old journal strongly suggests that he had them crafted for some kind of cure himself. What it truly does, or how it could be expected to work, is far beyond anything in my old field of studies. But if I continue to follow the development of his notes, perhaps it would all work out in the end. The more bizarre and detached my research seems to become, the more clearly I can see the dreams again, and the clearer images they start to make. I see hints of a design, something that seems utterly alien to me, but at the same time, it has a familiarity to it, like something I've seen in the much deeper, softer memories, once faded deep into the back of my mind. I just need to listen to them a bit closer tonight. Maybe I'll hear something clearer. March 5th, 1919. I think I've come to realize what's being asked of me. Dorothy, are you okay? Dorothy, she's gone mad.
Attention all. This is the estate. Patricia, you've already taken your tablet. Please report to the dining hall. We're to task you. The letter is on the table. You'll have further directions. Remember, girls take your medicine. Good girls do their chores. Good girls go home. That is all, ladies.
May 3rd, 1921. The research has progressed at a rapid pace. There's no shortage of work to be done and no shortage of volunteers. Though primitive, the being is able to fully communicate its continued direction to me through the seeming possession of the fresher corpses that have come as a byproduct of our work. And the living host tavern began to show somewhat different reactions. Symptoms similar to mine from when I'd originally began my work are common in nearly every one of them. But the longer their direct exposure to the pylons and the energy is, the more detached they seem to become mentally. The reaction seems sharper, but cognitive function seems to dumb down to a much simpler, more passive series of reactions. They have no problem identifying orders, motion of actual threats, but they frequently seem to forget the answers to questions that they had knew just days ago. Some of them, when held to their effects for even longer, begin displaying signs of violent mania, often lashing out and attacking other subjects or often to their own misfortune. Me, I do not like wasting any life, much less the life of a subject, but once this mania takes hold, there's hasn't been an observable way to bring them back to any kind of lucidity. Certain adjustments must be made to ensure the safety of the others. Troubling as the effects to their mental faculties are, the symptoms themselves are giving far worse in other regards. The longer a living subject is exposed to the radiating energy of the pylons, the more their physical attributes begin to reflect this strain. Many show signs of sun-damaged skin, though the flesh itself seems to thicken and swell, some with boils, some simply to resembling something closer to the animal hide. Often the limbs will start to show signs of distortion, but seemingly to no awareness of the subject itself. This is also true with many other changes to the physical features, be it their facial feature distorting, or some increased mass to their overall abilities. The entity feigns some kind of ignorance to these physical mental abnormalities when I attempt to probe further on the effects of the engine. But I am starting to detect a familiar pattern between these cases that is leaving me with some kind of increased concern. As fascinating as this progress is, it's creating an uncertainty that wasn't in me before. How long must I wait before the intentions of the machine and its mysterious designers? The closed lips on the subject has always left me with more excitement than this concern, but with the increasing show of these mutations caused by it, and the degenerative cognitive defects that are occurring, I can't help but feel that this is part of the plan, letting me work on the machine until those same effects came back on me. Perhaps this cult that has come to live in my family home understands more about this being than they led me to believe. I have no fear of death. I have for what may come of me here. Dr. Sullivan is the prophet of the ages. Even being able to see the staircase to our saviors is an honor that I may never have hoped to have in this life. I will give this vessel unto whatever is willed of me. The only true pain left is waiting to bring us to salvation. Let any who read this know, I was one with the true God. I helped bring us all to salvation. There is no greater honor than this. There's a message in dry blood scribbled on the wall. Be unto all that wear one, the stairs shall ascend to the true and only God. The true and only God. I don't need this anymore. Are you ready to go, Margaret?
Yeah.